Hello one and all, it's my review and reaction to the final chapter of Dr. Stone. Woo! And this is definitely a very bittersweet moment because I am so excited to actually read this chapter to find out how it all comes to an end. And at the same time, I'm just really sad. I mean, I've been covering Dr. Stone for basically as long as I've had this channel, for like 2 years at this point. Wow, it's been a long time. It's been a really long time, and doing my reviews of it have just been part of my weekly routine for so long. I'm really not sure what to do once this is over, once this series has come to an end. Oh, this is gonna break my heart. This is truly going to break my heart. And also, I'm going to this chapter completely and utterly blind. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I've somehow managed to avoid all forms of spoilers up to this point. I don't know how I did that, but good for me! As for my own theories though, like I said in my last video, I think there's a slight possibility that Senku teamed up with Medusas to trick all of humanity into thinking the Medusas were leaving, abandoning us, when really they're sticking around in the dark side of the moon for some reason. That could make sense, but looking back, I'm not entirely confident in that theory. I mean, I still think it might be true, but I'm not sure about that. Though I am definitely interested in seeing exactly what Senku's planning on using the one last Medusa for. I mean, Senku seemed way more interested in its anti-gravity properties compared to its ability to turn all life forms into stone, so what is his big plan for that? Is it going to be, flying cars? I mean, that'd be a fun way to end this series, but I think it has to be more. I think it has to be much more than that. Also, just what kind of form is this final chapter going to take? I mean, are we going to flash forward to 20, 30 years in the future, see the new scientific age that Senku built up? Or are we just going to, go right to where our last chapter ended, with them coming down, landing the rocket, and just talking about what comes next? I'm really not sure. I mean, seriously, there is so much this chapter needs to cover. So many characters who haven't really gotten their chance to shine in quite a while, and who need some sort of conclusion to wrap things up. I mean, just Hyouka alone. Let's not forget, Hyouka is a freaking serial killer. He has killed so very many people in this series, and they just kind of forgave him. I mean, they even said after the Stone Wars that, oh, one civilization has been built back up, we'll find someone to judge Hyouka for his crimes. And it's like, dude, you're on the freaking moon. Civilization is back to, where it was almost before everyone was petrified. So isn't it about time you decide to judge Hyouka, throw him in jail, do something with him? I mean, you don't really need his physical strength all that much anymore. I'm just saying. Oh, and speaking of returning to the modern age, let's not forget that Taiju also said that he wouldn't confess his love to Yuzu until they return to the modern age, and again, they're in the freaking modern age, so it's about time we see that ship sail. Oh, and of course, then there's Senku and Kohaku. That ship really needs to sail in some form in this final chapter. Alright, so I've talked enough, let's get into this, starting in 3, 2, 1. Alright, opening panel, we see our 3 astronauts looking down upon the Earth one last time. Senku with that confident smile on his face, utterly and completely satisfied. Just, oh my god, there was an award ceremony. They literally got medals that said E=mc squared. I love it. I freaking love it. Definitely feels like a Star Wars reference here, which, makes a lot of sense. They literally just fought a war in space. Stanley looks embarrassed? Stanley looks unusually strict in this moment here. I mean, what is the deal with Stanley? Why is he so nervous about getting a medal? I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one. Kohaku, meanwhile, falling asleep. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense for Kohaku. And just, oh my god, after they landed the Soyuz capsule successfully, Senku managed to, just fish off the side of it until the ships eventually showed up and rescued them. That is so Senku. That is so Senku. I mean, clearly they learned a lesson from the previous astronauts, who kind of sort of landed, upside down, and as a result almost doomed all of humanity. Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. Alright, the reunions, all the high fives. Everybody gets high fives! Yay! Taiju, Yuzu, Kasaki, Tsukasa, Kohaku, and hey, we even see Luna and, what's her name? Kirisame? Is that? Oh god, she has not been relevant in so very long. Seriously. I mean, I was expecting she would be. I really thought, especially when they were hinting, oh, she has a thing for Kinro. I thought, okay, she's a powerful warrior, second only to, Kohaku, Tsukasa, the big giants. So she could, really find a role on the Kingdom of Science fighting force. And yet, I can't even remember the last time she actually did anything. I mean, off the top of my head, I think it would have to be when the Kingdom of Science attacked Brody to try to steal the Medusa from him to petrify the entire world. So yeah, it's been a while. It's definitely been a while. And then, they're all home. Hey! We even have the little Medusa sitting on Senku's hip. Oh, that is adorable. That is absolutely freaking adorable. I love that. Chrome has a very serious look on his face, or his attempt to make a serious look on his face. He's not doing particularly well, and Suka's in the back. Her hair is greener than I expected. Is that as a result of her just, growing older? Fairly certain in the past, at least in the anime, her hair was golden. Now it has a green tint to it, which, fits the melon on her head, but that is interesting. I can't really remember the last time or if ever we've gotten a color page of her since she, grew up. I mean, maybe right after she grew up, maybe right after, she had the whole time skip age up. Though it definitely matches Senko's hair quite nicely. They look like brother and sister. I like that. I really, really like that. Honestly, just knowing how much Suka cares for Senku, I could see her just choosing to dye her hair just to look more like him. I'd like that. I would really like that. Anyway, final chapter, Dr. Stone. Several years later, that was kind of what I was expecting now. A time skip several years in the future. Looks like civilization is up and running again. I mean, there's still a lot more wilderness than usual, but this is a fairly sturdy town built up. Modern, quick-cutter homes. And looks like Jen's giving a lesson or a speech of some sort to world leaders. If I had to guess, I'd say he's, I don't know, the chairman of the United Nations, something like that. It feels like that would be a very adequate role for him. Oh, I guess not United Nations, maybe just for Japan. He's like the ambassador from Japan to America, because he's in America right here, and then he takes a plane back to Japan. Also really love it that both countries have the same flag, the flag of the Kingdom of Science, showing that, that is the true power of humanity, their ability to overcome obstacles, their ability to literally go to freaking space, to land on the moon within 10 short years out of pure grit and determination. That is what makes us strong as a species, and that is what unites us as an entire planet. I like that, I really like that. Alright, so it does look like Jen is actually an official diplomat working to try and bring the nations of the world together. Which, is certainly needed right now, given that everybody was turned to stone, and now they're all going to wake back up. And, the world, our modern day world, isn't really all that peaceful right now. There's a lot of really, really old grudges that I think even if we woke up 3,000 years in the future, people would still fight about. They'd still argue about. They'd still kill each other about. And so Jen needs to find a way to, basically convince these people not to murder one another, which, must be a truly, truly exhausting job. Hey, it's a wedding! Yay! Oh my god, we finally get the wedding. Taiju and Yuzu. And of course, Taiju is crying so much more than she is. Yeah, that seems right. I love that. And are those Yuzu's parents? Okay, I think this might only be the second or third time this entire series where we've ever seen anybody's parents, so interesting. And looking at it, I'm guessing that might be Taiju's father and Yuzu's mother. That would make a certain amount of sense here. I wonder where they've been all this time, and why Taiju and Yuzu haven't been trying to, find them and wake them up from the stone. That is a very good question. But anyway, speaking of family, I think that's also Suka's little sister right here, little Mira. Aw, she grew up. She's so adorable. I love her. Okay, wait a second. This is day 2 of their wedding. They had so many friends they wanted to invite. They literally couldn't fit all of them into one wedding. So now it's a 2-day wedding. Actually, if I'm reading this right, they went to the church on both days to do the whole wedding ceremony and all that. And Taiju is crying as much as he is, even though it's the second day of his wedding. Okay, that is something right there. I guess there are problems having too many friends. And of course, Senku forced all of the science team to leave after the first day because he had so much work he needed to get done. That sounds about right. And they're celebrating the wedding by shooting balloons, which is an interesting custom. And yeah, I gotta say, I'm fairly surprised, fairly impressed with Yo. He's certainly nervous, but he seems to be shooting almost on par with Stanley, the world's greatest sniper. So that is definitely an achievement worthy of praise. Good for him. And we can even see all of Stanley's soldier friends in the background in very, very minute detail. Mose is, of course, flirting with all the girls at the wedding, which, ladies, you might want to be, a bit careful around Mose. I mean, is he a serial killer? He's kind of a serial killer. I mean, he petrified a lot of people, and he assumed petrifying someone would kill them, so, yeah, he's kind of a serial killer. That is a bit unnerving. Chelsea and Soyuz also showed up for the wedding, good for them, bringing a piece of, I think that's polished amber, which, if so, it'd be an interesting nod to, just a few chapters ago when we saw the reason why the Y-Man first launched the Medusas down Treasure Island was because of the polished amber. That's interesting, or it might be a reference to something else I'm not getting. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, Kawaku has something she wants to ask. Of course, it's about Chrome and Rui, which, yeah, you know what, that's a fairly good point. I mean, Chrome's probably been so focused on the science, he hasn't really been paying any attention to her. I mean, even in the, half dozen conversations he had with her ever since he cured her illness, all he's ever really talked about is science, the power of science, how science is so bad. So, yeah, that's, a fairly good point for Kawaku to bring up. I mean, it seems like it's about time for those two to get a little serious. And of course, Luna, even after all these years, is still really desperate to bag herself a scientist as well. Though, interesting enough, she says scientist and not Senku. Could it be that, she's given up on Senku and now accepts that Kawaku's gonna get Senku? Or has Kawaku already gotten Senku? Very curious. Let's keep reading. What the freak? Okay. Oh, right. God above, Chrome. I gotta love you. I mean, you are as blunt as Senku, but you get things done. You actually get things done and were able to fully confess your feelings. I mean, certainly in a casual way, but just God above. Okay. This reaction video just suddenly became worth it just for that moment, just for that freaking moment. I love it. And just the confidence in him as well. He was completely and utterly certain that Rui would say yes to him. Oh, that's a good moment right there. That is a really, really good moment right there. Though before they can get married, he needs to finish up this bad science project, which even Jen is unaware of, and which seems to concern Tsukasa. I'm guessing it's something to do with the whole Medusas and finding a way to end wars, to keep wars from happening. Yeah, okay, now we're actually in a conversation about this. Hyouka, Zeno, and I once bloodied our hands to prevent the rebirth of the world's old hierarchies, but at this point, the idea of such a grim future is a distant memory. I mean, yes, but let's not forget, Hyouka actually killed people. I mean, you broke a lot of statues, but none of them were permanently broken as far as I know. So putting you and Hyouka in the same boat is, comparing apples to oranges. It's a very different ballgame. Oh, okay, Hyouka actually brings this up. Once law and order is established in the new world, we will likely find ourselves judged and condemned. God dang, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting Hyouka to actually acknowledge the fact that he is a freaking serial killer and certainly belongs behind freaking bars. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Though I guess this all depends on the science team's success in this giant, super scientific looking building. Interesting. That certainly wasn't there a few years ago. And of course, Taiju just has to bring over a great big cake to the science team so they can party as well. I love that. Okay. Who is this woman and why does she look so much like Senku? That is concerning. That is really, really concerning. Is this Senku's mother? That would make a certain amount of sense. I mean, I think the author has said in the past we'll never actually see Senku's father in this series, but he never mentioned his mother, so that could be something else, I guess. Mistaken identity. So, okay, it is just a woman who bears a shockingly close resemblance to Senku, which is... Okay, I have so many questions about it. I have so many questions about that. Is this Senku's sister? I'm confused. I'm really, really confused. Okay, I think this one panel just suddenly summed up the entirety of how the Medusas operate by affecting the Higgs field to increase or decrease the mass of objects, which That actually makes quite a bit of sense. I mean, as far as my understanding of the Higgs boson field particle, all that stuff is involved. So, yeah, okay, it makes some scientific sense. All right, now we know how the Medusas work. Yay! And it seems like this one was, taken apart into pieces. I am really hoping that's not the one they brought back with them from the moon. Not sure about that. Okay, so just one of the broken ones, thank God. I mean, that would have been such a very, very dark twist for the series to take. I mean, I know it's the machine, but it decided to sacrifice itself for, the sake of humanity, for saving humanity, so I would have felt so bad about them, taking it apart and killing it. And of course, Taiju has to proudly declare that today is the day that he married Yuzu. And his wife has to correct him and say, honey, you said that yesterday as well. You married me on both days, don't forget. Okay, we got Senku in his cape. Hey, with a little Medusa on his hip, love that. Putting bottles into some sort of big metal scientific thingamabob, which I'm guessing is going to allow him to fly, to affect the Higgs boson field somehow. Okay, so how's this actually working? And Senku saying, I'm cheering so hard that my vocal cords will snap. I think that's actually what he said in the very first chapter, when Taiju first announced he was going to confess his feelings for Yuzu. Back then, Senku was trying to figure out the truth behind the sparrows being turned to stone. Swallows being turned to stone. I can never keep that straight. Anyway, though, so now Senku has this really, really big, bad science project, which is something amazing, something slick, which does something... Holy God above! Holy God above! Holy God above. They are building a time machine. They are building a goddamn freaking time machine to undo the entirety of this series. Oh, I don't like that. I really, really don't like that, but I am confused. I am very, very confused. I mean, if they go back in time, if they keep this future from happening, that means sweet, adorable Asuka will have never been born, nor will Chrome or Ruri or anyone else. And yet Chrome said he'd marry Ruri after they finished the bad science project, so that's a conundrum right there. Yeah, it's a time machine. It is a giant freaking time machine. Okay, that is something. That is certainly something. And of course, it has to be shaped like Medusa. Why are you going back in time, Senku? What are you going to do back in time? I've seen enough time travel movies to know that never, ever goes well. Okay, wait, so they aren't actually going back in time, but instead they're going to send the Petra beam back in time to petrify people before they died, so that way they can save everyone whose statues were broken? I am confused. I am very, very confused. Oh, and we get a blueprint. We get one more blueprint to sum up everything. Oh, and now we actually even get Rei from the spinoff, which is not canon. Okay. So many questions about all of this. An AI savior, that would have been interesting. I'm guessing that's more of an Easter egg than anything else. Alright, so yeah, time travel, that is definitely not what I was expecting. That is really, really not what I was expecting. But I do just really love that they're putting together almost every single thing they've built up throughout the entire history of the series to build a time machine. And if I'm reading this right, I kinda sorta understand the physics behind it. Okay, so they have a cockpit, so they will actually go back in time themselves instead of just sending the beam back in time. Which way, way more dangerous, but either way, basically, by using the Medusa, they can make their own mass essentially zero, and once your mass reaches zero, you can move at the speed of light, which should allow you to travel back in time. Theoretically, I mean, there are a whole lot of theoreticals in this situation, but maybe. I mean, the bigger issue, though, is that they could just utterly and completely destroy the present, so it's a bad idea. It is a really, really bad idea. In fact, even Medusa said last chapter, your plan has less than a 1% chance of actually succeeding, so Yeah, even they knew it was insane. Even they knew it was utterly and completely insane. And it was only this one little Medusa that's actually willing to go along for the ride and try to help him achieve his goal of freaking time travel. Okay, but Jen said it might take them decades, centuries, or even millennia. And before they said they'd build the framework first, so I'm confused. Maybe they don't actually have a fully functioning time machine up and running yet, but rather it's something, their descendants will perfect and find a way to go back in time and save everyone. I mean, maybe, but there's a lot of ifs with that. There's a whole lot of ifs with that. Also, Chrome said he'd only marry Rory after they finished the science project, and the science project is a freaking time machine, so weird. Very, very weird. So I say get excited. And that is how Dr. Stone is ended. Woohoo! I am confused. I am very confused. I mean, I love this entire chapter up until the time travel thing, which is definitely interesting, but also just it can trigger so many more problems. It can destroy everything the series has been building up to. It can just destroy all their lives. It can make it so that Suka, Chrome, Ruri, Kawaku, they were all never born. It has a lot of problems. It has so very, very many problems. I mean, even Medusa itself said they're going to return to the past to keep his species from invading, keep his species from petrifying all of humanity, which, that'd be problematic. That would be so utterly and completely problematic. I mean, seriously. Just so many. Have you never heard of the butterfly effect? Seriously, have you never heard of the freaking butterfly effect? That is problematic. That is definitely problematic. I mean, maybe we're going with the whole split timeline thing, where if they go back in time, they won't actually change the future, but rather they'll create an alternate timeline where things went differently. That would make some sense, I think. I do not know. I am confused. I am very, very confused. But putting the whole time travel thing aside, the rest of the chapter I liked. I really liked it. The color pages were absolutely freaking beautiful. A chance for everyone to really shine, at least a little bit. Taiju and Yuzu finally got married. Chrome basically confessed his feelings to Ruri. That was amazing. We didn't actually get anything between Kawaku and Senku, though, which, a weird detail, a really, really weird detail. Though Luna did say that she's now after a scientist rather than Senku, so maybe Kawaku and Senku have already, officially confessed their feelings. I mean, I have absolutely no idea how that would go, but I feel like it wouldn't be all that far off from, Chrome just turning to Ruri and saying, "Hey, let's get married." Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. And honestly, just given the look of absolute disgust on Kawaku's face when she hears that, I kind of think maybe that already did happen. And that was, her like, oh god, Chrome is just like Senku. That's exactly the way he said it. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Also, while we're talking about weirdness, let's talk about the super busty female Senku, because that was weird. That was really, really weird. I mean, like I said, could she be Senku's mother, Senku's sister? We don't actually know anything about Senku's family, his biological family, other than Byakuya saying that Senku was the child of an old friend of his, so no idea. Absolutely freaking no idea about that. And then we got time travel, or at least the idea of time travel. I mean, they said they're building the framework first, so it doesn't really seem like they're fully sure what they're going to do with it once it's up and running. Are they going to go back in time and keep the entire world from being petrified? Are they going to transmit all this data into an AI who will be the savior of humanity? Are they going to make, an alternate timeline? Actually, did they already make an alternate timeline? I mean, that's interesting possibility right there. Because if you think about it, they showed Ray here, and it's been stated many times that Ray and the entire, Dr. Stone spin-off reboot Byakuya isn't canon to the main series. So what if, Ray is canon to an alternate timeline that's created when Senku and the rest of them send information back in time, and that somehow leads to the creation of Ray? That would make a certain amount of sense. I could see that happening. And is this it, or is there still more to come? Are we going to get more Dr. Stone, a spin-off, a sequel series, something like that? I mean, I could see that. Let me see if anyone's said anything about it online yet. Like I said, I've kept myself entirely off the internet all day today to avoid being spoiled, but now let's take a look. Dr. Stone news. Dr. Stone just ended. My Hero Academia creator talks Dr. Stone ending. Interesting. A special chapter has been announced for 2022. Interesting. Let's see. Let me read this real quick. Okay, so it says the manga will get a new chapter in Weekly Shonen Jump around the same time as the Dr. Stone Ryu special airs this summer. Okay, so we still have something to look forward to. I have absolutely no freaking clue what that chapter is going to cover. I mean, after the way the manga just ended, there are a lot of possibilities. Alternate timelines, going back in time, sending Petra Beam back in time, changing history itself. There are just so very, very many possibilities, and they could cover all of that, or they could cover absolutely none of it. I mean, the chapter is being released around the same time as the Ryu anime special, so they could just have a chapter focused on Ryu. I mean, I still have a lot of questions about his uncle. What's the deal with his uncle? What happened when his uncle was unpetrified? I mean, he basically ruled the old world before everyone was turned to stone, so what's going to happen? He wakes up and finds out the entire world has been, basically reset, and that his nephew, the child he always despised for being illegitimate, was actually, basically one of the most powerful people on the planet now. Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be really, really interesting to see, but please, let me know down below. What do you think of this chapter? What do you think of it as an ending to the series? Do you think they actually have time travel working now? And if so, how exactly are they going to use it? What are they going to do with it? I mean, it certainly opens the door to a lot of possibilities, but just so very, very, very many of those possibilities end in, humanity being wiped out, or the characters we know and love having never been born. So that is a concern. That is definitely a concern. Oh boy. But let me know what you think of all this down below, and until next time, oh god, I'm not actually sure what next time is going to be. I mean, I'm going to keep covering My Hero Academia till it ends, at the end of this year. I'm going to keep covering Vigilantes till it ends at some point. I feel like Vigilantes has to be ending sometime soon. I'm covering Arfureta till it ends in a couple weeks. After that, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with my channel. I'm going to keep going, obviously. I have no intention to stop anytime soon, but the format's definitely going to change. I think I'm going to do less, weekly reviews and more just whatever I feel like talking about. Recommending anime, manga, light novels I found that I really enjoyed. I think other people would as well. Talking about specific episodes or scenes in anime that I thought did something just really amazingly well. And just have to wait and see what happens next. But until then, whatever the future may hold, let me say for one last time on a Dr. Stone video, peace!